You're tuned into Everyday Theology in Plain English, making sense of God's truth for your everyday life. Here's your host, the man who can't quit checking his fantasy football scores but is learning what real devotion looks like, Charlie Miller.
Hey there, welcome back to Everyday Theology in Plain English. I'm so glad that you're here. Today we're going to talk about an attribute of God that makes a lot of people uncomfortable: his jealousy. Now, when you hear that God is jealous, what's your reaction? If you're like most people, you might wince just a little bit. Jealousy, it doesn't sound like a good thing, does it? In our experience, jealousy is petty, it's insecure, it's that ugly feeling you get when someone has something you want or when you're afraid of losing what you already have. We've all seen jealousy turn toxic, haven't we? The possessive boyfriend, the envious coworker, the friend who can't celebrate your successes. We know jealousy can absolutely destroy relationships. So when the Bible says God is jealous, it's natural to feel confused. Isn't jealousy a sin? Didn't we just talk about how God is perfectly holy? How can a holy God be jealous? Maybe you've even heard skeptics use this against Christianity, saying things like, "Oh, your God is jealous? It sounds like your God has some insecurity problems." The idea of a jealous God feels primitive, almost embarrassing, like it's something we need to apologize for or try to explain away. But when we start to understand what divine jealousy actually means, it completely changes how we see God's heart. Here's what I want you to know right up front: God's jealousy isn't petty or insecure. It's the flip side of his passionate love for you. Today, we're going to discover what holy jealousy looks like and why it's actually one of the most beautiful things about God. So, what do we mean when we say God is jealous? Well, let's start with what the Bible actually says. In Exodus 34:14, God declares, "Do not worship any other God, for the Lord, whose name is jealous, is a jealous God." Did you catch that? God doesn't just feel jealousy occasionally. His name is jealous. It's central to who he is. Deuteronomy 4:24 says, "For the Lord your God is a consuming fire, a jealous God." Now, before we go further, we need to make an important distinction. There are two kinds of jealousy, and only one of them is sinful. So, sinful jealousy is wanting something that doesn't rightfully belong to you. Now, this is what we usually think of, right? Envying someone else's possessions, their position, or their relationships. Now, the Bible calls this covetousness, and it's clearly wrong. We should not covet what other people have. Righteous jealousy is wanting to protect something that rightfully belongs to you. See, this is a wife's jealousy for her husband's faithfulness. This is a parent's jealousy for their child's well-being. This kind of jealousy is not only acceptable, it's good. It would be wrong not to feel it. And here's the key: God's jealousy isn't about wanting something he shouldn't have. It's about protecting a relationship that is rightfully his. He made us. He loves us. He redeemed us. We belong to him, and he will not share us with false gods. Think about it this way. If a wife discovered her husband was having an affair and she said, "Oh, well, I want him to be happy. I don't mind sharing his love with someone else," would we call that noble? No, we'd call it a failure to love. A wife who truly loves her husband will be jealous for his exclusive affection. That's not weakness, it's the nature of committed love. God's jealousy works the same way. Because he loves us with an infinite, committed love, he refuses to share us with his rivals or with any rivals. His jealousy is the intensity of his love protecting what belongs to him. Now, here's what God is jealous for. He is jealous for our worship, our devotion, our hearts. The first two commandments make this clear. You shall not make for yourself an idol. Why? Because God is jealous. He will not tolerate rivals for our ultimate allegiance. And here's the thing. Those rivals aren't just ancient statues. An idol is anything we put in God's rightful place. It's whatever we look to for ultimate meaning or security or satisfaction apart from God. It could be money, it could be success, it could be relationships, it could be approval or comfort, anything that competes with God for the throne of our hearts. When we give our hearts to these things, we're committing spiritual adultery. And God, like a loving wife or husband, is jealous. God's jealousy is actually a measure of his love. The more deeply someone loves, the more intensely they're grieved by unfaithfulness. A God who didn't care about our wandering hearts would be a God who didn't love us. Let me give you another angle on this. God's jealousy is also for our good. The things we run to instead of God can never satisfy us. Money can't give us lasting security. Success can't give us identity. Relationships can't bear the weight of being our ultimate source of meaning. When we worship idols, we don't just offend God, we hurt ourselves. So when God jealously pursues our hearts and calls us away from idols, he's not being petty, he's being loving. He knows that he alone can satisfy our deepest longings. His jealousy protects us from wasting our lives on all the things that can never deliver what they promise. James chapter 4, verse 5 says, "The Spirit he caused to dwell in us envies intensely." Now, other translations say God yearns jealously for us. Now, there's something beautiful here. It's the infinite God yearning for your heart. He's not indifferent to where your affections go. He wants you. Okay, quick pause. If this is making sense, or if you have any questions, drop a comment and let me know. It would really mean a lot to me to hear from you. Now, you might be thinking, okay, Charlie, I'm starting to see how God's jealousy isn't petty. But what does this mean for how I actually live? Well, that's a great question. Let me give you 3 practical ways understanding God's jealousy transforms your life. So, first, God's jealousy invites you to examine your heart for rivals. Let's picture someone, we'll call her Amanda. Amanda is a sincere Christian. She goes to church, she reads her Bible, she prays. But lately, her relationship with God has felt dry and distant, and she can't seem to figure out why. And then someone asks her a simple question. What do you think about most? What do you worry about most? What do you daydream about? And Amanda realizes her answer is her career. Her identity has become wrapped up in her job performance. Her security comes from her paycheck. Her sense of worth rises and falls with her boss's approval. Without realizing it, Amanda has let her career become an idol. Not a golden statue, but a functional God that sits on the throne of her heart. Maybe that's where you're at right now. Maybe there's something in your life that's quietly become more important than God. Not intentionally, but gradually. It could be a relationship, money, your appearance, your kids, your reputation, your comfort. Now, these aren't bad things, but when they become the ultimate things, they become idols. And here's what I want you to know. God's jealousy is an invitation to come back. He's not standing over you with condemnation. He's pursuing you with love. He's saying, I want your whole heart. That thing you're clinging to can't satisfy you the way I can. Come home. Second, God's jealousy reveals how deeply you're loved. Let me paint you another picture. Imagine a man, we'll call him Colin, who's never felt particularly special. He was mostly overlooked by his parents. He was ignored by his peers, and he's spent most of his life feeling invisible. Now, deep down, Colin believes that no one really cares whether he even exists. But then Colin encounters the jealous love of God. Here is the creator of the universe who yearns for Colin's heart. Not because God is needy, God doesn't need anything, but because God has chosen to love Colin with a fierce, protecting, pursuing love. Here's the stunning truth. The infinite God is jealous for you, not in a petty, insecure way, but in a passionate, committed way. Your heart matters to him. Where your affections go matters to him. You are not invisible to him. You are intensely pursued. Third, God's jealousy calls you to exclusive devotion. Now, this is totally countercultural right now. Our world tells us to keep our options open, right? To never commit too fully, to hedge our bets. The idea of exclusive devotion sounds extreme, maybe to some people even unhealthy. But God calls us to exactly that. Jesus said you cannot have two masters. You'll love one and hate the other. God isn't interested in being one priority among many. He wants to be the first, the center around which everything else orbits. And this isn't because God is controlling or insecure. It's because divided hearts lead to divided lives. When we try to serve God and money, or God and approval, God and comfort, we end up fractured and frustrated. Only when God is truly first does everything else fall into its proper place. As we wrap up today's episode, here's what I want you to remember. God's jealousy isn't petty or insecure. It's the intensity of his love protecting what belongs to him, which includes you. He's jealous for your worship, for your devotion, for your heart. Not because he's needy, but because he loves you and knows that nothing else can satisfy you the way he can. His jealousy invites you to examine your heart for rivals, reveals how deeply you're loved, and calls you to the exclusive devotion where true freedom is found. So here's your assignment for this week. Do a heart audit. Ask yourself these 3 questions. What do I think about most when I have nothing else to think about? What do I fear losing the most? What do I believe I need to be happy? Your honest answers might reveal rivals that have crept onto God's throne. Then bring what you discover to God in prayer, not with shame, but with honesty, and ask him to reclaim his rightful place in your heart. And here's our community question. What's one thing in your life that might be competing with God for your heart's allegiance? It doesn't have to be something bad. It might be something good that's simply become too important. Naming our idols is often the first step to dethroning them. If you're willing to share, your honesty might help someone else recognize an idol they hadn't noticed in their own lives. Next episode, we're tackling another attribute that makes people uncomfortable, God's wrath. But here's the thing. God's wrath isn't like human anger. It's not irrational or explosive. It's actually really good news. Until then, remember, you are intensely pursued by a jealous God, not because he needs you, but because he loves you, and that love will not let you go. Thanks for joining me on Everyday Theology in Plain English. I'm Charlie Miller, and I'm so grateful you're a part of this community. I can't wait to continue this journey with you